Goals and goal setting are kind of a mixed bag for a lot of us with ADHD, partially because we get overwhelmed with how big those goals are and not having enough clarity on how to actually move forward to getting those goals. So today we're going to explore a few ideas that you can implement to break your goals down into more doable and manageable steps. Welcome or welcome back to You Can Do the Things. I'm Asia. I'm an ADHDer and momentum coach, and I work with ambitious, neurodivergent, multi-passionate folks to thrive on their own terms and help them hit their big goals. So that's what we're getting into today. Let's do it. But first, I need some tea. One thing that we're really good at with ADHD is coming up with ideas. And ultimately, goals are ideas for the things that we want to do and achieve and have and be in our life. And we need those big goals. We need to dream big. We need to have these big ideas for what we want to do because it can be really motivating. But at the outset or at different points along the way, it can also be quite overwhelming because having a sense of what it is that we want is only a small part of actually having that thing. The executive functioning, the organization and planning required to actually go from where we are now to achieving that big goal can be quite daunting. There's a lot of lack of clarity that we have and even knowing how to go about identifying those steps. So one of the things that we do talk about a lot around goal setting is identifying your why. Hopefully, if you have some big goals in mind, you've already identified why that's important and meaningful to you. But also, I don't know if it's the autism or if it's the black and white thinking that comes with a lot of neurodivergent ways of being, but I can be pretty literal minded. And so if you also feel that way, a couple questions that I found to be really helpful are, what is it for? And who is it for? These are some questions I came across from Seth Godin, who does a lot of stuff around marketing. I found those questions so helpful because I think they can get us out of the trap of overthinking about the why. What is it for and who is it for is much more straightforward. If I have a goal of writing a book, what is it for? Is it for me to tell a story about something in my life, to explore an idea that I've had? And who is it for? Am I writing it for a specific audience, for a specific person, for myself? So identifying the who and the what, I think, are a really nice way of exploring intention and that meaning behind the goal. And I did actually talk about this in one of the last videos about a kind of framework for setting goals, and the who and the what are actually a part of that. So I'll link that up here. You can check that out. We have the big idea, but the goal often exists outside of reality. And so breaking it down is going to allow us to get that goal more grounded and attach that to things that are relevant and current in our lives right now. We're just kind of scratching the surface with some stuff today, but if you want to dive a bit deeper, I am running a Goals That Stick workshop here live on YouTube on January 29th. Would love for you to join for that one. And if you're watching this after the 29th, you'll be able to find the recording in the recorded workshops playlist. All right, I have 5 main tips for you today for how to break your goals down into more achievable steps. And the first one is really about kind of taking this zoomed out view that we already have and like we're working our way back, work backwards from where you want to go. Goals come in all shapes and sizes and flavors. Your big goal could be to launch a business, start grad school, learn the piano, run a marathon, move overseas, have a kid. There could be so many different things that are part of your big goal thinking. And so I want you to take this moment to visualize that result, to visualize achieving your goal. Visualizing it is so important, first of all, because if you can't see it, you can't work towards it. Now, once you've done that, I want you to think about, how did you get there? What were the steps that you needed to have taken in order to have gotten your goal? If your goal is to run a marathon, then seeing yourself crossing that finish line at the marathon is great. What got you there? So yeah, there was going to be training runs and going to the gym and like all kinds of things, right? I find that this step can be really helpful to talk out loud. So you can totally just talk it out loud to yourself. I've done that many times. You can also talk to a friend or somebody else that would help you kind of think through. And so as you're identifying these different steps and actions that got you to that finish point, this leads right into the next idea, which is to identify the milestones that signal success along the way. So for example, for a writing goal, example, some of my milestones might be brainstorming ideas, drafting different sections, outlining the book. There might also be certain research that has to happen, certain steps of the drafts that need to happen. So there's a lot of different steps that I can see that would signify that I'm moving forward on this project. Because of our tendency towards all or nothing thinking, we can get ourselves into a cycle of feeling like we're not making progress because we haven't achieved our goal yet. So having these milestones, having these checkpoints along the way really gives us an opportunity to reflect and say like, oh yeah, okay, I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to do to get to that endpoint. So that's the second thing to do to start to break your goal down into more doable steps. And with that word doable in mind, the third step is really about defining what's doable, defining what success looks like for you, and aligning all of that with what your capacity is. Asking yourself, what's doable for me? What does success look like? Will help you to better break down your steps and your tasks and your action in a way that is aligned with your capacity and your energy. Our goals should fit into our life. We shouldn't be completely bending ourselves out of shape just to reach our goals. They should be able to integrate into what it is that we're doing. And really here, when we're talking about what's doable, what does success look like, we need to remember again that we do have this all or nothing black and white thinking. And so we have to try to reel that in a little bit and remember that completion and perfection are not the same thing. All right. And the fourth step for breaking your big goals down into more manageable steps is to bust out your calendar. Planning for a lot of us is very challenging, and this is not about planning so specifically, but this is about incorporating some of the things that you have coming up in the coming weeks, in the coming months. Just to use a personal example, my partner and I actually did this the other day because we're planning to move, and we were struggling to figure out when would be the best time for us to do that for a number of different reasons. So taking a calendar out and thinking about here are the things we know are coming up that we need to plan around, we were able to identify like a few months that made the most sense for us to aim for doing our move. And so that was really super helpful because I think before that we were feeling really stuck. Pulling out the calendar and looking at what's going on for you is a first step, kind of seeing what's possible. From there, you can take those milestones that you've identified and start to apply some deadlines for them or some due dates or start to map them out. This is again that working backwards. So if you know that your marathon is in November and it's currently January, what are the milestones that you need to hit by what point in order to get you to the starting line of that race feeling fresh, feeling ready and prepared? And that will start to help you visualize, what do I need to do to get to that milestone? All right. And then the fifth idea here is around identifying what are the things that you need in order to actually achieve your goal. So this is not just about breaking down the steps of the goal, but also thinking about what are the things I need to assemble or to acquire that are going to help me actually get to that point. So that might be, maybe I need some support in creating a plan. That's where a coach can come in handy. If there's a skill that you need to learn in order to start applying for a new kind of role, then maybe there is a course you need to enroll in, or maybe there's some time you need to set aside towards learning that new skill. And so the idea behind this is really to make it as easy as possible for you to actually do the things that you need and want to do. How can you bring all the things you need together so that you can move forward with more ease? And that's also going to help you gain momentum and stay motivated because every single step doesn't require a side quest just to get started. So one of the things to be really mindful of in this entire process is to be aware of overcommitting yourself in the high energy and excitement of working towards these goals. Sometimes we set deadlines that are not realistic, or we kind of bite off a lot at the beginning because we have that energy and motivation to do it, and then we sort of burn out or lose interest. So I want to just encourage you to like ease in a bit and also to reevaluate and be flexible. So if you feel like you've taken on too much or circumstances have changed, give yourself opportunities regularly to reevaluate where you're at and the pace that you're going at, and if that feels okay for what your capacity is, for what your objectives are. Sometimes you're going to have a mismatch of energy. You might have not enough energy, but still have that time deadline. And so I just want to encourage you to be compassionate and listen to your body and listen to the things that you need, because you will get more out of your experience if you honor your energy, honor your sensitivities, than pushing through all the time, because that's how we get into those burnout cycles. So I hope that helped to give you some thoughts about how you can break down your big goals into more doable, realistic steps. Again, if you want to get into things a little bit more, come to the Goals That Stick workshop on January 29th. And in the meantime, I'd love to hear what goals you're working towards. So just to recap, breaking down these big goals is really about working backwards and being realistic about what our capacity is and what success is for us and what doable even means, and identifying those different milestones that will help us get from where we are now to that end goal. If you found this video helpful for you today, I'd love for you to hit the like button and subscribe if you're feeling the vibe, because we're gonna get into all things goals, motivation stuff, productivity, all kinds of things. In the meantime, stay curious and be kind to yourself, and you can do the things. Bye, friends.